Hello everybody, welcome to the mid-month challenge and the watch-along video for that. The first thing I'm going to use is Indian ink, and I'm going to do something on the 7 sheets of watercolor paper that I got there. One already fixed to the background and all other 6 not. I'm wetting a couple of sheets, most of them actually. And then I'm coloring in some Indian ink. It will bleed and it will give me some nice effects. I don't have any topics yet for the 7 pieces, so I'm just going to see where the color takes me. And this is my take on the mid-month challenge of the journal workshop over at Jenny Belly's forum. Which I have to admit was quite a stretch for me, not because of taking prompts out of a pouch, but because my backgrounds were so full and vibrant and loud and busy, and I didn't know how to, make something additional for the pages that would not destroy or even overly color the pages and make it too wild and too crowded. But I'm getting there. Like day after day, I'm getting there. But in the beginning it was, quite a struggle, I have to admit. So I'm just taking different shades of colors of Indian ink out and bleed them into the background, let them dry, and then see what kind of patterns I might see or whatever. So this was pretty much day 1. On the second day, this little monster here gave me another prompt, and that is watercolors. And the first second I was kind of frustrated because the technique is so similar to the day before, where I used water and did use color to bleed it into the background of that particular whatever painting. So I had to figure out what I wanted to do, and I decided to not go for the very much watered down watercolors, but for medium to almost not watered down color. And I'm trying to see patterns and stuff like that on the different backgrounds so that I can, add the new layer. I'm also going for the crazy stuff, the abstract stuff, whatever my hands wants to do. I accepted that I shouldn't think with my brain, but with my hand only. So once I was comfortable with that, the work itself went fairly quickly and easily, and within minutes I had a new layer to each paper that I was happy with. It's really fascinating to me that all the pages look so different and so unique, and that I do not really repeat anything in those 7 pages, although I use exactly the same material and the same tools. So I really liked that part of both the first November challenge as well as the mid-month challenge, that I realized, okay, with the same kind of medium on the same day in the same minute, I can create very different things. For the last page, I went with watercolor pencils instead of the other watercolors that I have there. You can see them a bit on the right-hand side of the screen. The watercolor pencils give me way more control because I'm only watering the color down a tiny bit once I have my painting on the page. It's way more delicate and controlled that way. On day 3, I got frames. And frames on that particular day, again, what a stretch. I hoped I would pull that out of the monster way later in the week, because I'm now going to adhere all of these pages to the backgrounds, and since my backgrounds are quite bumpy and have a lot of gels and structure to them, it will be more difficult later on to draw and paint on them, and it will be just very difficult to have even lines. But again, go with whatever you're going to pull out of the pouch was the challenge, so I have to work with it as best as I can. And I'm just laying out, or I'm just looking which of these watercolor paintings do I want to put on which background? Where do I see something that I could work with? Where do the colors match nicely, or even just the pattern? And I'm trying them out for quite a while, going back and forth until I have the final result, and then I can start gluing them down or adhering them to the page in any other way. For the most part, I'm using glue and having different kinds of ribbon that go with the pages. On others, I do have some metal hearts or other tiny things there. I'm trying to not have too many knickknacks that are on the watercolor pages, because again, my backgrounds are quite busy already, so I don't want to add too much. I'm just going through my stash here and checking, what do I have in stock? What could I use? What would work? What would I like to see? It takes me quite a bit to finally decide what I'm going to use. You can see me working back and forth. Before I start actually gluing things down or adding them to the page, I just put them, the material that I'm going to use for that particular page, I'm just going to put it on that sheet to remind myself where I want to use what before I actually glue things. So I'm starting with this particular page and I'm just using normal craft glue, gluing down the page, and then I'm adding this cardboard frame, which is a leftover from punching out components of one of my board games. And that worked fairly quickly. On this one, I could go a bit crazier with the frame because the background, though being quite busy and wild and loud with the color, has not too much different patterns that would be in the foreground. On the contrary, this is a very loud page and it has multiple layers and dimensions, and with this one I have to be on the calmer side, so I'm punching 2 holes into my paper and I'm just using this leather string to adhere the page. I'm just tying a knot and make it look like it would be a photo frame or a picture frame, something that you would hang on your wall. And I'm using artist gel to adhere the string to the page. It dries clear, so that's great. The next one I have to make some space on my desk. The next one again is with a pattern not as prominent, but the colors are very loud. So I try to adhere this watercolor piece on some crepe ribbon that has a very calm and natural color that is very much in the background, and I'm using this yellow ribbon to tie in the watercolor paper to the background, just to have some repetition. With this particular one, I don't have to glue down my page because it's already there, so I'm just using this packaging twine here, and I'm making kind of a frame, or yeah, I would actually call it kind of a frame that I'm adding to this painting, and by that guiding the eye even more to the watercolor painting in the middle. It pretty much frames the upper left-hand part of the page. And the next one is this particular piece, which is only busy and loud with that flower, but the rest is rather calm. And I saw a dress for that lady of the newspaper at this particular painting. So I'm just gluing it down, and then I'm using a couple of metal hearts. They were actually table decorations at my wedding, by the way. So I'm still having those. I'm just using the same artist gel again, and I'm gluing the hearts down. It's very simple and very quick. With the palette knife and the artist gel, you can leave it overnight or just for a couple of hours, and the metal is securely adhered to the paper page. Very simple, very easy. After that, I'm getting to this page, which was at this particular stage in the challenge, it was my least favorite one. Just because it took me quite a while to figure out where I wanted to put that paper and what I wanted to do with the page, with the material that's going to be used the next couple of days, because I knew what I had in my pouch. I just put the prompts in there, so I knew what was coming. And with this particular page, I had most struggles to figure it out. But I just used some blue twine, and that was that. The next day, now it was so fast that I can't read. Oh, colored pencils. The next day I used colored pencils, and it wasn't as challenging in the end as I thought with the bumpy backgrounds, but I just had to use a very light hand to color certain things. And I'm just at this particular page, I'm just deepening some contrast on the page, but I'm staying in the same color scheme, adding only a tiny bit of green later. And this is, a teeny tiny bit of a cheat, because I didn't have time to work on the art journal for 3 days. So from this stage on forward, they're all done the same day, which was Saturday. But I gave myself maybe like 45 minutes in between the stages, so it felt like I wouldn't do a page all in one go, but I would pretty much make the pages like one step at per day. So with this one, I'm just sketching in a female body that is not the ideal measurements that we currently have, or that is suggested to us by the media, and that is on purpose, because I think every girl and every woman has a very beautiful body and can dress very, very nicely. And it doesn't matter what size you are. It's just, yeah. Clothes can make people really, really pretty, even more than nature sometimes. With this one, I'm just blending in a bit of orange and deepening the turquoise bluish color a bit. With this one, again, I had so much trouble figuring out what I wanted to do, and even just using my quote-unquote hand brain, I struggled a bit there to figure out what I wanted to say with that particular piece of paper. I'm adding a bit of red to the corners because in the background there's red as well, and I didn't want to only stay within the blue tones. With this one, I very, very lightly added some gray because I like the pure pinkish red mountains on the lower part of the painting. And that one, well, I just added a bit of a shade there in a greenish turquoise blue color because I didn't know yet what I wanted to put on there. It was a bit difficult. With this one, the tree, it was fairly simple. I just deepened a bit of the color in the trunk, and then I added some swirls of colored pencil to make the first layer of the leaves that are on this autumn tree. And I'm using just red and orange. For that one, it was a bit of a struggle as well, but then I thought, well, I'm just going to copy the greens that are in the photo on the lower right-hand side, and I'm just giving them weird colors. A lot of purple and a bluish green. And then I'm adding just the house of a snail, coloring it, and just doing some. It's almost, well, that snail is almost like a doodle, but then again, it's a real house of a snail. It's a real shell, and I don't know why I did paint it there or drove it there, but in the end, I liked it. It was a bit of a doodle, more of a doodle. And I think at that point, it was at that point that I realized that I would, what I would do for the last day, which was like a wild card. I didn't have a prompt for that. And where I decided that I would go for sentiments or quotes. But beforehand, it was time to use a couple of Copic markers, and I would mainly use them to, again, deepen contrasts. And I'm not really adding a lot of the Copics to certain pages, just a line here and there, which would be enough, in my humble opinion, to use on one page. I like the Copics most on this particular one, just because I dotted the leaves in very many different colors, yellow, orange, red, brown, and created the autumn leaves of the tree like that, and it looked very, very cartoony, and almost it reminded me of some child book illustrations that I saw of trees, and I really liked that. So as for the Copics, this was my favorite piece to do. That one was a challenge as well, but I just went for very abstract art in this particular one, and for that reason I just added some lines. The same here, though they are way bigger and more prominent. They would probably be clouds or something. With this swirl, I just added different color, and I thought I would just in the end make with some markers some doodles on it. So I went ahead and used vibrant colors quite a bit, and had the left-hand side of the painting be very colorful, very vibrant, very saturated, and kept the colored pencils, which are underneath, more to the right-hand side with a lighter tone there. For the girl, I just added some skin tone Copic marker and a bit of black, and with that I just deepened contrast of what I already drew the day before, or with the stage before, I should say. I really liked that I could make this weird black blotch into a dress. On the next one, I'm also only using a tiny bit of pink Copic marker to add to the page, and then it was time to use markers and glitter. I'm staying pretty much in the same color tones that I used mainly on the page. So with this one it would be purple, a bit of black marker, just to give it more of an illustration-y look when you look at the page closely. Some highlights with a white marker, that's that. The next one gets some very tiny silver dots that could be, I don't know, gems or something that were sewn onto the dress. And then I'm outlining the body a bit to also give it an illustration-y look. With this one, I only used a black marker. Oh, and a white one, but that's way later. And I'm just doodling onto the swirl. Just going with different lines and making a pattern like that. It's a very simple drawing or painting there, but I didn't know what else to do with this one. It's a very busy page. I'm also adding some glitter pen in the same turquoise that I used over and over in this painting and also in the background. So the pages came together quite a bit. And then I drew in some random white lines just to add some interest to certain parts of the painting, more on the orange side, I have to say. With this one, I just added in some black lines that could also be a very tiny ink brush that somebody used on a painting, so that's what I wanted to go for. And I added this white circle that you can hardly make out, but when you look at it in original, like in real life, it looks like there is a sun behind a very thin layer of clouds, so it looks nice. With this one I just added some blue glitter dots. It could be plants or something. Again, I left it very abstract, and at the tree I just added some black markers on the trunk and one red blob on the leaves. Even more blue, red and purple glitter on the leaves and on the snail, adding some very rough and wild loose lines with a black marker, adding some highlights with white. And then that's that. So the last day was a wild card, and I, as I said earlier, decided to write down some words or sentiments or sayings onto each page. Something that I associate with the particular page. And I took some cardboard or pattern paper scraps that I had laying around, and with a black marker I just wrote down whatever sentiment I would think fitted onto the page. Funny enough, looking back at the sentiments now, all of them are definitely things that I have been focusing on or reminding myself of the last couple of weeks. So maybe my hand brain knows about things that I don't even realize and paints them. So the first sentiment is no need for words. And I'm not going to explain the background of the sayings because I think you could, figure out either what the sentiment means for me, or you could even, have your own interpretation of whatever I'm writing down. I don't have to tell you what a sentiment could mean. The next one is once in a while, allow yourself to just hang and chill. And I'm just writing that straight onto the wooden blocks down there. On this one, it says, in structured and compartmentalized daily lives, be brave enough to break free and do your art. And I think this works particularly well because there's this wild watercolor painting on the lower right-hand side. All in all, this challenge took me 2.5 hours, so I'm very sorry that this narrated video, which is usually real time, is not real time at all, but I had to speed it up by 4 times to even have a video of a length that is okay. With this one, I'm adding some more lines around the hearts, and then very obviously to the painting, I'm putting down my quote. And it says, love yourself every second of every day. Just punching a hole there, and also into the background, tying a bit of twine to the tag. And then I'm just using some adhesive tape on the background to hold the tape in place. Very simple, very quick. That one says, in spite of all the misery, the world is a beautiful place. And while I write that down, I just wanted to let you know that I thought, or that I, watching it back now, realized that I'm not using all the sophisticated techniques that I'm capable of in these kind of challenges. I'm using them more if I only create 1 page and not 7. Just something that I realized. I'm not saying it's good or bad. Using some craft glue, white craft glue. I should be able to talk. I'm just adhering that green rectangle. With this one, it's going to say embrace change, even the difficult kind. So this is a very important page for me, topic-wise. I'm trying to adhere it to the structure gel, but the glue doesn't sit onto that particular gel, so I'm just adding that strip to the right-hand side, and I'm, not having the quote readable when you look at the painting right on. Just have to turn your head a bit. With this one, I wanted to make sure the page doesn't look empty, but also not too crowded. So I'm using a bit of different cardstock or pattern paper to create a tag. And it says, stay close to the ones you love. I should really be able to talk. It's unbelievable. It's like there is a big knot in my tongue. Just using markers and then some green cardstock to add to the tag and to connect it to the background in this case. It looked a bit empty to me this way, so I think the green cardstock really makes the difference there. And then that's that. I hope you enjoyed watching along, and I'm going to see you next week with a new art journal page. I hope you liked it. Thanks very much for watching. If you have any questions, let me know. Goodbye.